Nigerian-born middleweight champion Israel Adesanya is widely considered one of the best mixed martial artists in the history of the UFC, if not the entire history of the sport. With a flair for the dramatic and an eye for artistry, and some serious skill as a kickboxer, Adesanya quickly rose through the ranks to championship fame in 2019, with an overall professional record that went undefeated until 2021. Despite his loss to Jan Blachowicz in his attempted shot at the light heavyweight title, Adesanya still holds the middleweight belt and is a serious threat to contenders in his division. Because of his unique personality, mixed with his skills in the cage, Adesanya has had more than his fair share of savage moments over the course of his career to date. Like, share, and subscribe to the Ultimate Fighting Network as we explore some of Israel the Last Stylebender Adesanya's most savage moments in his UFC career. Back in 2018, before he was a global sensation, Israel Adesanya faced his first UFC opponent in Australian Rob Wilkinson, who was also still quite early in an ill-fated UFC career. As we've mentioned before on this channel, a debut is a perfect opportunity to make a first impression, and winning with style can go a long way to making a name for yourself in the organization. Adesanya clearly understood this. In the second round, Adesanya managed to pin Wilkinson against the cage and strike him mercilessly, until the Australian stopped fighting back and the referee ended it. A TKO victory as well as a Performance of the Night bonus for the Last Stylebender. After his debut, Adesanya's star began to rise very steadily, and 2018 was a packed schedule, with 4 fights within months of each other. His fourth, at the end of 2018, was against American fighter Derek Brunson, a relative veteran of the UFC. If Brunson was meant to be a test for Adesanya, you wouldn't know it from watching the fight. It took all of 1 round for Adesanya to size up Brunson, find the best angle to outmatch him, and knocked him to the canvas a couple of times, adding a vicious knee to the face for good measure, before the referee called another TKO victory, and the third Performance of the Night of Adesanya's career. One thing Adesanya's fans love him for is his flair for the dramatic. An artistic person outside of the cage, Adesanya loves to dance and is a huge fan of anime. These pursuits have a real influence on his persona in the octagon. He is a master of what some call showboating, dancing in between rounds, making fun of his opponents, and other psychological tricks to make himself look and seem unbothered, like he's just having the time of his life. That's why it felt fitting for him to be pitted against UFC legend Anderson Silva in 2019. Adesanya had made no secret that he had admired Silva for years, and the two fighters had very similar styles, agile, described as ninja-like. They also were both known for their ostentatious displays in the cage. Although Adesanya won this fight by decision, and we typically don't include decision victories as savage moments, there was a key moment in the fight that really crystallized Adesanya's vibrant style. After Silva pulled a particularly impressive move, avoiding Adesanya's kick, the crowd was clearly impressed. To win them back, moments later, Adesanya struck a pose and enticed Silva to enter the fray, using the classic "Bring It" move inspired by Bruce Lee. The crowd went wild, and Adesanya's fearlessness in the face of an MMA veteran and his personal hero did not go unnoticed.
Thanks for watching this far. Please help support us by liking this video and subscribing to our channel. We appreciate you.
It only took Israel Adesanya over a year to find himself in the running for the UFC middleweight championship. His interim title bout in 2019 against Kelvin Gastelum was a unanimous decision victory and became known as the best fight of that year. But Australian fighter Robert Whittaker, another UFC veteran, was the final piece of the championship puzzle to unify the division. Later in 2019, Adesanya and Whittaker faced off for what was sure to be an epic battle. But the fight never went further than the second round. A late-stage knockout in the first round set the tone for Adesanya's victory. He kept the ball rolling in the next round and knocked Whittaker out. In a career full of TKOs and unanimous decisions, this was Adesanya's first knockout victory in the UFC, and it also got the much-coveted and now unified belt placed around his waist. Adesanya has successfully defended his middleweight title twice since his victory over Whittaker. His latest successful defense was against Brazilian Paulo Costa in 2020. This fight was notable for a number of reasons, the main one being that this would be the first time that the two undefeated male fighters would meet in the title bout in over a decade, the last time being in 2009. There was palpable excitement, and the two fighters definitely played up the trash talk and aggression in the lead-up. During the fight itself, in the second round, Costa ended up on the floor, and Adesanya took advantage of the situation with a vicious ground and pound with both hands and elbows. The referee stopped the fight shortly after, giving the TKO victory to Adesanya. Adesanya has definitely been guilty of running his mouth, and he's admitted so in the past. He has also been accused of arrogance, dancing and making gestures to show how unbothered he is, sometimes going a bit too far according to some. He definitely seems to be a fighter who gets caught up in the moment and, in his exuberance, doesn't always say or do the right thing. But Adesanya does have a great respect for the people who have helped him to rise to the top, and one way that he displays this is through his post-fight octagon interviews, where he has been known to lay his belt on the canvas and bow to those who have been his support throughout his career. He also showed his respect to his hero and MMA veteran Anderson Silva after their match. The two fighters bowing to one another, no longer opponents, but colleagues. It's a touching gesture and one that shows the world that Adesanya may still be young, confident, and impulsive, but he knows how to be humble when it's important. And we think that's pretty savage.
UFC 19. I still remember the DVDs, bro. I've been watching.
Israel Adesanya is far from being a perfect human being, but he's generally regarded as a talented fighter with an incredible sense of style both inside and outside of the cage. This has led to a myriad of savage moments, so many we could never list them all here. But in his short time in the UFC, he has already cemented himself as a real legend of the sport. And who knows how many more savage moments are yet to come for the last stylebender. What do you think about Israel Adesanya? Do you have a favorite savage moment that we didn't include? Comment below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching the Ultimate Fighting Network.